Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is another Games Leaving the Collection video, this time for June 2021, and it's a fun week this time. I have a whole bunch leaving. I say this all the time, and I mean it, but I'm constantly trying to become more critical to get rid of anything except for the games that really genuinely call my name. I want to be sad, like really, really sad when I pull the game off the shelf, to the point that, well, there are 2 CMON games on this list. 2 CMON games I'll be getting rid of. Feel free to guess if you want, but don't worry, CMON. It's only so I can make more room for more of your games, so we'll see how that goes. But going back to the sad point, to the point that I have Besieged. It's not one of those games, in case you've guessed that, you're wrong already. But Besieged is going to be on my culling shelf for the past 4 or 5 months now. I keep wanting to cull it, but I don't want to cull it. That's the feeling I want. I want to take a game, say I'm getting rid of this game, and then refuse to get rid of it. Now, for what it's worth, Besieged has not left my culling shelf. I still think maybe 1 month it'll actually finally show up in these videos. But the point is, I want to be sad. I want to be tortured when a game leaves my collection. Now, disclaimer before I jump into it, I've given this disclaimer in the past, I don't always give it, but disclaimer that I have a lot of games. I get a lot of games, both from content creation, from the fact that I do run a board game store, and just the general nature of the way I gather games to begin with. Before I had content creation or a store, I rotated games a lot. That's just the way I dealt with board games. And that means I get rid of a lot of games that are good. I get rid of a lot of games that I enjoy because I'm always seeking the ones that I enjoy more. I'm constantly rotating things. Do not take this as any major criticism of any given game. I tell you how I feel about them on the way in and on the way out, and reviews and lists and all those things. But to start off with, number 1 is going to be Terraforming Mars, but not actually Terraforming Mars, because that would be crazy. Rather, this is going to be the empty box for what I have left of Terraforming Mars, because this is more of a, I guess, a note. I think it's worth noting. It's not pure trolling, because I wouldn't do that. Maybe not. But Terraforming Mars, I got the big box Terraforming Mars, and I kept this. I made the whole transfer. I did a whole unboxing video. I transferred everything from here into there, and I kept this at first to make sure that I liked the big box, because one of the concerns I had back when I backed the big box to begin with was whether it would actually be a good improvement or whether it would just be a way that I played Terraforming Mars less. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the concept that sometimes you get games, luxifications, big box, all-ins, and that game hits the table less often, not more often. Sometimes having more content means you're going to play it not as much because it's more of a burden. And so I wondered when I had those deluxe upgrades, I wondered when I had that, all the tiles, whether it'd be harder to table, but I'm telling you that 2 plays in, and 2 plays since I've gotten the deluxe upgrades, and it's a breeze. It is much, much easier to deal with those. It is easier to take the trays out, to deal with the setup. It is incredibly easy. I have no doubt whatsoever. This is going away. That's staying. And yeah, that's why I'm telling you that. And speaking of upgrades, we have Kemet. Kemet is being upgraded to the new version, to Kemet Tasadi or whatever. No, not Kemet Tasadi. Kemet Blood and Sand. That's the new one. Kemet Tasadi is the expansion. So in here I have Kemet, I have Kemet Tasadi, and those are all going away because I upgraded to Kemet Blood and Sand. Although really it's not really an upgrade so much as a step sideways. You see, I still like the art of Kemet more. I still like the graphic design of Kemet more. The original, this Kemet, not that Kemet. But the Kemet Tasadi Kemet Blood and Sand has a few things that I can't ignore. It has better miniatures, which I could ignore that, honestly. They're both good, they're not great. But it has tile trays, which are excellent in terms of managing your tiles to set up and tear down. It has streamlined rules. It has a spot on the board that's going to be relevant for a future expansion. All in all, I like both Kemets. I overall prefer the new Kemet, but it's very much a step sideways. It's like going from Castles of Burgundy to Castles of Burgundy 20th Anniversary Edition. Neither one's perfectly solving the problem, but one's still a better choice than the other. Which one, I'm not going to get into because I don't want to sidetrack this video. That's going to be number 2. So we have like 11 games this week, I think, because I counted each of these as a half. And also because I had 11 games to get rid of, so that's why. But past that, I was not getting rid of Terraforming Mars, but I am getting rid of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. This one actually is leaving the collection, and if you've watched my Play This Not That, it should not be a surprise. So effectively, I did a Play This Not That video with Terraforming Mars versus Terraforming Mars. I did this together with Jesse from Quackalope and Shira, and we all enjoyed this. Some more than others. I think Shira and I gave it a 3, Jesse gave it a 2, which means a 2 is a game he'd rather not play. He'd look for excuses not to play. And a 3 is a totally fine game, but we'd rather play other things. Now, if you ever want to play Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition with me, I am 100% down. In fact, I would say I almost welcome it. I'm not willing to do it myself. I'm not willing to do it unless somebody else wants to do it with me. But I've enjoyed my time with this. And in fact, Dice Tower just put out their Dice Tower just put up their Foursquare's review on Terraforming Mars, and they gave it like 8 and 8.5 and 9 and 9.5. They were completely head over heels to me, to the point that I was questioning myself. I was like, should I continue playing this? Am I missing something? Is there something about Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition that is better than the original Terraforming Mars? I mean, I know it's shorter, I know it's more accessible, but I'd rather just play other things if I want shorter and more accessible. If I want Terraforming Mars, I'm still playing Terraforming Mars. But then I sat there and thought through whether I'd want to play this again, and I'd rather not. I'd rather move on and stick to other games that I prefer, and or spend that time towards a full game of Terraforming Mars. So I think I'm missing something. I don't know. I think I'm missing something, because you have 4 people from Dice Tower, 4 squares, all loving this game. The Board Game Geek ratings, if anyone's looking at the Board Game Geek ratings, ignore those. Those are from people who are upset at the Kickstarter. Those are not a reflection of the game, so we'll have to take time till that averages out. I am curious how the general market judges this game over time. It is a faster, more streamlined version of Terraforming Mars. It combines Race for the Galaxy with Terraforming Mars, and I just see no reason to play it in comparison to its big brother. Specifically in comparison. On its own, I would play it. If I ignored the existence of its big brother, this would possibly even be a 4 for me. Possibly. It's so far removed. I must be missing something. It's always interesting. You see, every once in a while I get a comment from someone saying, well, if Alex doesn't like that game, I can't even trust his opinion anymore because it's so bizarre, or vice versa. If Alex does like that game, sometimes I feel that way. Very rare, but sometimes I understand that feeling. Watching the Dice Tower, just completely every single member of the Dice Tower loving this game, I feel like either I'm missing something or they're missing something. I don't understand what's happening. It must be me. Sometimes it's me. There are games that I just don't love. Dwellings of Eldervale is going to be the last time this happened, where you had a ton of people who loved it, and I was like, it's okay. It's not bad. It's okay. So yeah, sometimes it does feel like the odd man out. Usually, I don't feel like the odd man out. Usually, I feel like my likes and dislikes generally align with enough people that within a band of being on target. Band of being on target is relative. Ultimately, it's my own opinion. That's ultimately what it is. But sometimes you find yourself having opinions that are so far removed from others that you have to question yourself to a degree, right? To a degree, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you have less self-doubt than I do. I'm full of all kinds of self-doubt. But that goes on to the next title, which is not going to have any self-doubt, which is Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters. So this is not really a game that I'm getting rid of. In fact, this is a game that my kids are getting rid of. So I went through some of my kids' games that we haven't played in a long time, and I picked out a whole bunch of them, and I went to my kids and I said, hey, which of these are you comfortable getting rid of? And most of them they kept, and this one they said that they don't really play, and so this one's going away. And that's generally the way I get rid of kids' games. I decide that they're not getting played right now, and then they get the final call on whether we are keeping it or not. I generally let them keep it. I'll try to convince them at times. I'll try to be like, but we haven't played this one, and are we going to play it anytime soon? This one I didn't have to convince. They were all like, they like it, they enjoy it. We like a lot of games. We enjoy a lot of games. We don't always have time to play all the games we would like to. Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters is a game that, again, it's a good family game. I recommend this as a good, solid family game. It's a little cooperative, gather some treasures, escape with your ghosts, all that stuff. It's solid. I don't think it's doing anything particularly amazing. I don't have the expansion. If it adds anything, I don't know. I don't think it's doing anything amazing. I think it's a good, solid family game. I have a lot of those. If I were rating it, it would be a 3. Very, very few family games escalate to a 5. I'm still constantly trying to struggle how to rate certain games that are not my main path. So like an area control or drafting or certain types of things put a game in my main, like, I don't know, sightlines, whatever you want to call it, and make them more eligible for a 5 or something. But then there's family games, like the best family weight games. Are they 5s? Are they 4s? What are they? How do you rate them? Still something I'm struggling with. I think I'm leaning more towards just rating them how I view them, which means this is a 3. I enjoy Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters. I'm happy to play Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters, but they're not playing it, and so it's time to go. Which brings us to Silver and Gold. Silver and Gold is a roll and write game that I have enjoyed. It's more of a flip and write. You flip some cards, you scribble some polyomino shapes on various tiles. I like this one. I recommend this one. I think it's a good game. I think you should try this game. It's a solid little polyomino roll and write thing where you draw tiles and little shapes and then score points based on the various palm trees you get and the various coins you get, and filling off different cards and then scoring multiplies from one card to another. Plays in 20 minutes. Lots of fun. Really enjoy this. Also have played it like 30, 40 times, and it's mostly the same game every time, which is probably true for some roll and writes more than others, but I really feel that I don't feel different when I play Silver and Gold. I think it's a good game. I think it's worthy of the plays I've given it, but I don't think it's one that I need to own. Contrary to games like On Tour, to Railroad Inc., to Ganshon Clever, to Welcome To, somehow those games manage to feel like a little bit of a different sequence plays out every time I play them. Same game, but different sequences. But something about Silver and Gold still feels like the exact same sequence every time I play it. The differentiated shapes don't really present a different puzzle. It still feels like draw a polyomino shape and move on. I'm sure you could abstract many games down to a simple rote task, but in this case, I looked at this, I said it's time to go, and I didn't feel that pang of regret. That's what I look for. I look for the pang of regret. Sometimes I overrule it, because sometimes you have to make room for things, and sometimes you have to be rational and logical about what you are and aren't playing. But my first test is I look at a game, I think that I'm getting rid of it, and then I question whether they have any pangs. I'm looking for the pangs. Speaking of pangs, we have Lorenzo Il Magnifico. I've been giving this one the stinky eye for a long time now. I've been looking at this one every time, towards the end of the month when I'm looking at, the way it works, I've talked about this before, is every month I grab games that are leaving as they happen. During the month, I'm like, oh, that game's going. You know, I played Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, knock that on the floor there, and I decide that it's time to go, and that's fine. But then other games, I actively look around my shelf towards the end of the month. I'm like, okay, great, time to make a little bit of a purge. What do we do? And every month for the past few months, I've looked at Lorenzo, and I haven't kept it because of the pang of no regrets. That's not why I've kept it. Besieged has stayed because I keep looking at it and thinking, no, I want to play Besieged. Lorenzo Magnifico, I don't have that opinion, but the reason I want to keep it is because I remember it fondly from my plays of it. And I remember, I love Coimbra. Coimbra is a great game. Now, lots of people prefer Lorenzo Magnifico to Coimbra. I do not. I prefer Coimbra to Lorenzo Magnifico. And I've been debating trying to give Lorenzo more plays to let time and more plays see if it changes my mind in it. It hasn't, and the reason I'm not pulled into it, and the reason it's finally leaving, is because I realize whenever I'm pulling the game off the shelf, it's not going to be Lorenzo. I'm not looking to give Lorenzo more plays. I'm not looking to give it time to validate. I'd rather play any of a dozen other games than give this game more time to prove whether it is or isn't worthy of staying. It's a good game. I've enjoyed it. It's not that I don't like it. If I didn't have Coimbra, I'd question keeping it. But both Coimbra and Lorenzo Magnifico both give me very similar feelings. Arguably, I should do a playlist not bad on them. Maybe I'll get another play so I can do that. I don't know. We'll see. Don't expect it. Don't expect it just in case. But Lorenzo Magnifico, solid game. Enjoy it. Prefer Coimbra, at least for myself. The Few and the Cursed. So, The Few and the Cursed is a game I reviewed a few months ago. I don't know exactly when. This is going to be from Rock Manor Games, and this is one that I did have a little bit of a pang on this one, but I'll explain why I'm getting rid of this one, because ultimately, The Few and the Cursed is going to be a deck-building adventure game. A gorgeous art, a solid game, plays a little long, runs a little long, and I think the artifact strategy is a little more powerful, versus taking out the monsters just takes too much time, but it has roaming monsters, it has deck building, you draw cards on the top of the deck, you add one to your hand, then you go ahead and execute on your turn, you're going to take out bad guys, execute contracts. In fact, if some of this sounds familiar to The Witcher Old World, that's why I'm getting rid of this game. I like The Few and the Cursed. I rated this a while ago. I don't think I officially gave it a rating. That was before I was officially doing ratings in my games, but if I were giving this a rating, it would be one of those like 3s drifting towards a 4 or 4 drifting towards a 3. I'd say 3 drifting towards a 4. I had a little too many complaints about the gameplay and the length of the game and the overpowered artifact strategy. So drifting towards a 4, but too many complaints that I think would limit it at a 3. But the reason I'm getting rid of it is not because of that. In fact, the reason I kept it is I enjoy the deck building, I enjoy the gameplay, I found it rewarding, and I love the art. The art is absolutely gorgeous. But I've since played The Witcher Old World, and The Witcher Old World, to me, feels like a similar experience, but just much better. To me, and this is not going to be a play that's not that either, but very much The Few and the Cursed is absolutely leaving specifically because of The Witcher Old World, no different than the fact that Lorenzo Magnifico is leaving because of Coimbra. Sometimes you have games that give you the same feeling, but do so in a way that is more appealing. I would rather put my time into more plays of The Witcher than I would into more plays of The Few and the Cursed. Though what I will miss in this game, some aspects of the game I like. I would say most aspects of the game that I liked in this game are replicated in The Witcher and I enjoy more. The aspect that I will miss is the art in this game is absolutely gorgeous. The art is, I'm going to miss the art on the cards, like genuinely. The solid art in a solid game, and yeah, just time, attention, and The Witcher. The first of our Command games this month is going to be Munchkin Dungeon. And this is going to be, I think, the first and only game on this list that I have not played, which does happen in some of these videos. Now, to be fair, this one's not my fault. This one is Rena's fault. I blame her for this game. So, effectively, this goes back a while ago, so I don't expect you to remember, if you have been watching that long to begin with, but Munchkin Dungeon is a game where I didn't get this. This is one of the few Command campaigns that I did not back. I back most Command campaigns, even the ones I intend not to, like Trudvang. I intended not to back it, and they pulled me in. And what's the new one? They have Master of the Universe coming soon, and that one's going to pull me in as well, I imagine. I couldn't care less about the Master of the Universe. I didn't watch it growing up. I don't care for it. I don't know anything about it. It's a bunch of weird stuff together, and I will probably end up backing it because I do things like that. But Munchkin Dungeon, I was strong with. Munchkin Dungeon, I said, no, I'm not interested, I don't care, and I did not back it. And then my wife, who grew up playing Munchkin, and I did not, I played Munchkin once and called it a day. My wife grew up playing Munchkin, and she found out about this game. She's like, you didn't get that Command game? Can you get that? And so, of course, I said yes, because I get a lot of games, and if my wife wants a game, she's going to get a game. And so we got Munchkin Dungeon, and I learned the rules, and I set it up, and we got ready to play, and we didn't play. And I got ready to play another time, and we didn't play. And I got ready to play another time, and we didn't play. We have successfully not played this game for going on a year and a half now. And I asked my wife a few weeks ago, when I was prepping for my games leaving, or maybe it was a week ago, I don't remember what it was. But I asked her, I said, hey, do you want me to keep Munchkin Dungeon? And she looks at me with a blank face and goes, no, I don't care, why? Yeah, that happened. And so I then am getting rid of it now, because apparently she doesn't actually care about this one. I love my wife. She's amazing. But yes, this gets eye roll material. So, Munchkin Dungeon. Munchkin Dungeon is going to be leaving because the person whom I got this game for, the person who I learned the rules for and set it up for, it doesn't actually care or want to play this game. So, bye-bye Munchkin Dungeon. It's been nice, and now I can free up a full Calyx cube of cubbies. Again, to be very clear, I'm incredibly grateful for my wife. She's amazing. She's awesome. This is me sarcastically rolling my eyes, not actually upset. Okay, just to be very clear about the relationship of that I have with my wife on camera or whatever. I don't know where I'm going here now. I'm gonna keep moving. So next up, we have a game that is in Shrink, but I have played. In fact, this is going to be Tobago, a game that I easily recommend, and yet I'm getting rid of it without pulling up the Shrink. Why is that, Alex? A good question, I say. So, you know Shira, that person who shows up on the channel now and then and tries to steal the show? Well, so Shira is someone who actually joined our household. She was someone who we kind of knew, like we were friendly with about maybe 2 years ago. And then when COVID was starting as a single person on her own, she kind of basically moved in with us, basically. Not full on moved in with us, but she picked us as her family to hang out with. And so she had played Catan before, she had played a few games, but she hadn't really been exposed to the world of gaming. And she likes the concept of games, and so when she started basically hanging out with us extensively, she started playing a lot of games, which led to me getting back a lot of old favorites that I had moved on from. So what happened is she started playing games, she started liking those games, and I got back probably a good 10, 15 of my older favorite games like Lords of Waterdeep, games like Kingsguard, games like Tobago. I got back a lot of older games just to introduce her to them, to say, hey, here's more stuff in the world of gaming. And she played a bunch of them. She liked some, she didn't like others, all good, but she kind of accelerated past a certain point, and I have a few games still left that some I still will pull out at some point, and others I'm kind of ready to not. Tobago is a great game. I had this in my collection for, I want to say 5 years before I eventually got rid of it, and then I only got it back because of Shira, and she's not currently playing this, and I like Tobago. My problem with Tobago, it's incredibly elegant. It's a game that's going to be a little similar, a little reminiscent of Cryptid, if you're familiar with Cryptid, but very different actual gameplay, just a little bit similarities in the puzzle. But you're going to be trying to figure out where things are on this map, and then putting down tiles to limit, so you put down like, oh, it's going to be within 2 of this, and therefore you inherently limit where the treasure can be, and then once you've limited to just one spot, you can go there and dig up that spot and find the treasure. And it's got these rotating heads, very cool. Honestly, the game is very interesting, very unique, a drop fiddly. And it's the fiddliness that made me eventually get rid of it over time. It's the fiddliness that has me not having the pangs of, I must keep this game right now. There are a few more lighter gateway games in my collection that I still have that may or may not make the cut over time. We'll see. And it's not Gateway, it's Gateway Plus. I'll say that. It's not a Gateway game. But Gateway Plus is a big category in my collection. We play a lot of games in the Gateway Plus category, but also we have more than we need. So some of them have to go over time. We gotta make some room over here. Speaking of just making room in our collection, gotta make room on the table. So let's shift those off to the side, where we will grab Unicorn Fever. Remember that pile of games that I held up to my kids and said, hey, do you want any of these? Well, Unicorn Fever did not make the cut this month. Unicorn Fever is a game. What replaced this game for me? I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, okay, here's what it was. Okay, so Unicorn Fever is a game that I played. I did a review of this one. I enjoyed it. Ricky enjoyed it. We played it, I played it both as that game night, so it's not purely a family game. I played it, it's a reimplementation of Horse Fever. I played this both at game night with my friends as well as with my daughter. and enjoyed it both times. Well, more than both times. Enjoyed it when I played it. But the problem with Unicorn Fever is that my kids don't ask to play it, and my game group does not ask to play it. And more specifically, I would say that it has been replaced by 2 games, one of which we have and one of which we don't have. The game that I have is Cubitos. Cubitos is a more fun, slightly more strategic racing game. Unicorn Fever has a bizarre theme that is funny, it's amusing, I enjoy the push your luck aspect of the game, but I think Cubitos is a more rewarding racing experience. And then another game that I don't quite have yet, but was coming shortly, is going to be Time to Turbo Cars from Horrible Games. No, Horrible Guild. Time to Turbo Cars from Horrible Guild is a game that's on Kickstarter, was on Kickstarter, we backed that one, we played that one online, and again, gave me a racing experience that gives me the same party vibe as Unicorn Fever, but I think I enjoyed it more. Unicorn Fever is one that I've enjoyed my time with it. I think it's solid. I don't love the art. I hate the art, to be very clear. I think the art makes it look like a kid's game, and those unicorns look like they need a doctor. But the actual gameplay, if you ignore the art, I like, but it hasn't hit the table in a while, and there are other games that I think give me that same experience, but better. And then, finally and lastly, I think so, yep, finally and lastly, is going to be Zombicide 2nd Edition. If this is the other Command game you guessed, well, first of all, if you watched my Nemesis unboxing video, then you already know this, but otherwise, Zombicide 2nd Edition is a game that I did a play this, not that of with Zombicide Black Plague. I compared the 2 games, talked about which ones I liked, and Zombicide 2nd Edition won. Sure and I both did that video, and both of us prefer Zombicide Black Plague, and the other people in our group who play Zombicide also prefer Zombicide Black Plague, they just don't show up on camera. And so we kind of we finished going through the campaign. We originally planned on finishing the main campaign, and then going through the other campaign in Fort Hendricks or whatever it was. We finished the main campaign and we called it a day. We didn't feel the need to continue going through Fort Hendricks. I like Zombicide. I like this setting. I like some aspects of what Zombicide 2nd Edition is doing that Zombicide Black Plague does not. I think most of those aspects are present in Wild West. Not all aspects. I don't know if Wild West has a day and night mode, but I think a decent amount of those aspects are going to be present in Zombicide Undead or Alive. So I'm hopeful that I'll get some of those features there. Honestly, I'm at the point with Zombicide where I will likely continue to get all the Zombicide because it's an easy back. You back it, you try it, you see if you like it, and then you can sell it for exactly what you paid for it, if not more. So I'm not losing out here, and I probably will keep getting all the Zombicide, but more and more I'm wondering if any Zombicide will ever dethrone Black Plague and Green Horde for me. Invaders is still on a ticking time bomb. It will eventually go. I have to just play it a few more times, but it almost certainly will go unless it surprises me. And then Wild, Undead or Alive, I don't know if it's going to do enough to make it better than Zombicide, Black Plague, and Green Horde for me. I think they keep trying to iterate on a system, and I like the system in its current form. I think that the other aspects of the system, like things like campaign that I might want, I'm hopeful that Massive Darkness will do that for me. So we'll see how it goes. I'll probably still get every single Zombicide, especially Pirate Zombicide. Come on, I keep telling you this. Pirate Zombicide is the way to go. Absolutely. So throw that in the mix and then call me. We'll talk about, let's schedule a call. Let's go over Pirate Zombicide. I'll tell you my favorite parts of Zombicide, what I like about them, why I want to see that stuff in Zombicide Pirate thingamajiggy. We can work on the whole 3D ship and all that. We can have zombies that swing from ship to ship. Lots of fun things to do. You can probably reuse art assets from Armored Bones, so you can save money there. We can figure it out. We can get the best version of Zombicide that ever could possibly exist. We just need to, communicate and all that. And that's basically going to be it. We have a whole bunch of games, some more sad than others. If I have to rate which one I was saddest about here, I don't know if I'm that sad. Probably The Few and the Cursed, interestingly enough. I think The Few and the Cursed is the one that I am the saddest about. Lorenzo, I just like Coimbra. Munchkin Dungeon, I had never had an interest in. Terraforming Mars, I'd rather play Terraforming Mars. Kemet, I still have Kemet. Unicorn Fever, I like, but I like the other racing games better. Tobago, I only got back for someone else. I still like it, still think it's a good game, but I got back for someone else. Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters was for my kids. Terraforming Mars is just a box. Zombicide, I have Black Plague. And The Few and the Cursed, I think there are aspects of that game. Maybe it would be a 4. Ooh, tough decisions. I shouldn't make decisions on camera like this. Either way, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you've enjoyed this Games Leaving the Collection in June video. I will see you again, well, tomorrow and the next day, but I'll also see you again in a month with the games that are leaving my collection in July. But I would say, in addition to that, later this week, I think, assuming I did my timeline correctly, later this week I will be doing 2 videos. It's going to be 2 days back to back where I talk about the games I added to my collection in the first half of 2021. It's going to be 2 videos because there's I think 35 games or something like that, which is a lot of games. And added to my collection just means that they are games that I added, I played, and I'm pretty sure are sticking around for at least some degree of time. So that'll be a fun series of videos. These are the games going out. You can see the games going in. Granted, there's only 10 leaving and there's like 34 coming in, but also these I do every month, and that video of 34 coming in, I do like once every 6 months, so it works out. Until next time, I am Alex Ratcliffe, and I hope you have a good one.